Well, I finally got to check out Sinners. Due to some personal issues with family, it's been hard getting to the theater, but I've made up for it this weekend, and boy did I choose the right movie to go to. Here's what I thought of the soon-to-be classic horror flick from Black Panther's Ryan Coogler called Sinners. Sinners is currently kicking ass in movie theaters, now from Warner Brothers. It's directed and written by Ryan Coogler. Twins Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan, return home from Chicago with a tote bag full of money and a dream to open up their own juke joint with alcohol, food, blues music, and all the fixins.
The only thing I'm seeing I'd like to put an amend on, perhaps a little more room here for the fixins. You know what I'm talking about?
Ooh, we're gonna have a lot of fixins?
We're gonna have so many fucking fixins up in this motherfucker.
They snag up their cousin Sammy, played by Miles Caton, a preacher's son and fledgling bluesman, Delta Slim, played by Delroy Lindo, an old drunken bluesman, then swing by and pick up Smoke's old squeeze Annie, played by Wunmi Mosaku, who is educated in the juju, and the whole troupe set out to have an opening night in a brand new barn Smoke and Stack purchased from a local businessman, Hogwood, played by David Maldonado. But set to crash the party is Remick, played by Jack O'Connell, an Irishman with a dark and vicious secret that means doom for all involved in Smoke and Stack's new juke joint venture. Sinners is a film of epic scope. Director and writer Ryan Coogler recreates the Old South from the cotton fields to the church houses to the small town shops. From top to bottom, this is big-time movie making, and Coogler has fleshed out this world like few others do these days, recreating not the most glamorous days of Black America, but some of the most genuine. I don't know where Coogler is from, but this feels like it was lived in firsthand, and everything from the looks, smells, feels, and language feels absolutely authentic to the time. I'm going to keep going back to the scope of this film because with very few movies under his belt, Coogler has risen to the ranks usually reserved for directors like Scorsese and Spielberg and is able to juggle this massive story with ease by telling a big story and never forgetting the smaller moments to draw the viewer in. While I've reviewed other genres, I mainly stick to horror, and while Sinners is most definitely a horror film, they just don't make horror films of this size and scale. You don't get performances like these in most horror films, and you certainly don't have the budgets this big for them. Sinners is full of moments, big and little, that will scare you. Some moments are soaked in blood and entrails, some are just downright chilling in fresh new ways. But while Coogler takes his time in the first half of the film to allow the audience to get to know the characters in this massive story, the second half is the kind of action and terror that we just haven't seen in quite a while in mainstream movies. I didn't mind the slower pace to get to the good stuff because it's filled with so much attention to detail of the culture of the time, and getting to know the unique cast truly was time well spent, and this cast is a good one. I guess if there's one complaint I'll lob out is that I think they made Jordan's dual characters a little too similar. Sure, they dress them in red and blue colors, but once things get down and dirty, telling the two apart just gets to be a tiny bit difficult. That said, Jordan does a good job of leading the charge of this ensemble, making him one of the stronger leading men in movies today. They even gave him a bit of a beard to take care of that weak chin of his, making him look all the more classically heroic. But not only does Jordan fill out the form of the leading man, but he conveys some very complex emotions throughout in both roles as well, playing off of the two leading ladies, Haley Steinfeld and Wunmi Mosaku. The rest of the cast is strong too. Though I haven't seen him in a while, Delroy Lindo is believable as the old bluesman with a weakness to alcohol. He has one of the funnier lines in the movie, but he also embodies that old soul you would expect from someone who has given his life to liquor and the blues. Haley Steinfeld also gives a strong performance as Mary, a white-looking woman with a half-black father who is just white enough to stand out in the black crowd of partygoers, but still has that tough edge to make sure she gets no shit about it. As usual, Lovecraft Country and Luther actress Wunmi Mosaku shines as Annie, who has a tragic backstory with smoke that proves to be one of the more heart-wrenching subplots of the film. Miles Caton also does a good job in what looks to be his first performance. While he has some growing to do as an actor, his musical talent and voice is one of the highlights of the movie. Finally, Jack O'Connell as Remick plays a terrifying monster villain that is wholly unique from many performances from similar kinds of monsters in past films. He chews the scenery, but makes it all feel authentic and downright evil. The music in Sinners is a star of its own. Not only do we get some fantastic blues music, but in one particular scene, Coogler expands the scope even further to show how African American music has evolved through the ages. It's a wonderfully risky scene that could have landed with a thump, but Coogler commits to this amalgamation of authentic African music, to blues, to Hendrix, to the seeds that birth modern rap music. This is an amazing scene, and another reason why this is a filmmaker that transcends genres and immerses the viewer in a culture like never seen before. That doesn't mean Coogler isn't above paying homage to what got him there in the first place. Shrewd moviegoers are going to recognize scenes torn straight from John Carpenter's The Thing, as well as shots that are downright Kubrickian. But one of the most impressive scenes in Sinners is not a look at African culture, but Coogler shifts the focus to Irish music as Remick sings a traditional Irish song and his followers dance a jig in a circle around him. It's a stunning turn in the film that is integral to the plot and another wonderful showcase of a culture not often seen in mainstream films. The film does sport a great commentary on how music is one of the things that brings us all together. Like the best of stories, it's passed down and shaped from one generation to the next. I could write an entire review focusing solely on the music of Sinners, but instead I'll just steer you to the soundtrack to experience this wonderful amalgamation of culture yourself. Full of action, lots of blood, amazing musical moments, and great performances, one would think it would be difficult to wrap up an expansive movie like Sinners, and one would be correct. Unfortunately, Sinners suffers from Lord of the Rings syndrome. The film has multiple endings, crossing every I and dotting every T, and addressing plot points and subplots that prove to be overkill. I get it. Coogler spent a lot of time and energy on this film, and it's hard to cut those cords and let that baby of a movie go and walk on its own. But there are about 4 or 5 endings to Sinners, scattered during the final moments before the credits, and then on through the credits, and just in case you didn't get enough, there's one last snippet at the very end after the credits. The thing is, Sinners just doesn't need all of this back matter. There's an obvious point that I won't reveal where the film could have ended, and Sinners would have been an almost perfect movie. But then the self-indulgent stuff at the end really wraps things up on a sour note. There's an over-the-top scene of violence just before the credits, which is the equivalent of the final scene in Candyman killing all of the cops in the remake, or the unlearned message over the flag at the end of Higher Learning.
I guess even though we were free, we were still slaves in the mind. Message!
This kind of in-your-face message about race just doesn't work with the highly nuanced way the issue is dealt with in the rest of the movie, and serves only as a way to make the dimmest of the crowd cheer like performing seals.
You know, it's kind of tough growing up in the hood without a positive male role model to look up to. Message!
It's frustrating that in the final moments, Coogler chooses to go the easy applause route rather than match the smarter tone of the rest of the movie.
Never forget, man. What they don't know, don't show, just don't care about being a menace to South Central while they drink their juice in the hood. That's what it's all about, Trey. The fuck is he talking about?
Extraneous and self-indulgent message endings aside, Sinners still is an amazing achievement. It's filled with epic moments of music, gore, drama, and culture. I've heard that horror is one of Coogler's favorite genres, and that can only mean we're going to see horror on a whole new level of sophistication in his future endeavors. At least I hope so. But whether Sinners is his last or first in a long line of many horror films, it's a great film that feels like a living, breathing being, a movie you feel as much as be entertained with, especially when listened to loud. Believe the hype? Sinners is a good one. Surely you've seen Sinners by now. Did you like it? Or why didn't you go see it? Let me know down in the comments. Please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. Live the life that you are meant to be. Live inside that reality. Yeah. Oh, my baby, you're done.